Hi folks, it's John Nizman from lastchanceautorestore.com. Our latest update is on the total rotisserie granite restoration that we're performing on a 1958 Chevy Impala two-door hardtop. So the last video that we shared with you, we had the body lifted off of the chassis, we set the body on a rotisserie, and it's ready to be scraped and degreased and ready for the media blaster or sandblasting. And it's just over there on the, I think we can pick it up, the camera can pick it up, it's kind of way over. Last you saw this frame, it was on the ground, it had all four wheels on it, essentially the body was just pulled off. So then we had the exhaust disconnected, and I mentioned our next step is going to be getting this ready for the rotisserie. So here we are now with this frame. So we have it on one of the rotisseries that we've made here. So this makes it really handy. So you can see all of where the body mounts were have all been removed. There's lots of corrosion and there's some undercoating and stuff. So we're going to get rid of all that. And then as you come up further into the frame, you can see where the mounting points were. There's a lot of seized bolts and so on. So you can see where things are wet. That's where we used a spray lubricant for things like the parking brake cables and levers and so on. And there is a bracket along the back that holds the rear diff and suspension in. So while the camera is right there, we'll just kind of pan over to the axle assembly. It's just over here, sort of walking all over like crazy. So here's the assembly, which we'll be doing more work to prepare. You can see the brake lines are still on it. There's the mounting point at the back of the center of the diff. So we're going to have all this cleaned up. We'll remove all the brake lines. We're going to remove the wheels and tires. And then we'll have this ready for sandblasting also. We'll have it mobile and we'll sandblast it all. So that's the rear diff components. Now, bouncing back over to the frame. So you'll see with the frame on the rotisserie, we've got the drive shaft out. We're going to make sure that we media blast all of this because it's a very important point now as we come along the frame. There's some brackets and so on. You can see where someone has welded different brackets over the years. This one was for an homemade exhaust bracket. So we want to make sure after it's sandblasted, well, first of all, we'll scrape it and clean it, and then we'll degrease it. And then when it's sandblasted and cleaned, then we're going to make sure that we get rid of this, we grind it smooth and we polish it so it's nice and clean. But the main thing that we need to do is make sure we don't have any stress cracks or any corrosion popping through or being hidden, because at this point the frame looks really nice. However, once we have it all degreased and cleaned, then we'll have a better look to make sure, because it appears that there's been a few little repairs that may have been done in this front section on the driver's side of the frame. Here's where your motor mount would be, and then in here it looks like it may have had a little bit of work done here. So we want to make sure that everything is done properly. So this is a great way for us to prepare this frame, because you can see how handy it is. We still have to connect the stands between each other with pipes, but once we have them connected, we'll easily be able to turn this frame a full 360 degrees if we need or want to. So what we'll do is in the scraping cleaning process, we'll probably have the frame tilted up, and we have pins set up in here. We'll scrape and prepare it all, and then once it's all cleaned, later on in the week, we'll media blast the whole frame. And then once it's all media blasted, then we'll do a really close inspection before we epoxy and paint the frame. So just an interesting update. When you take this 58 Impala, our client's wife will be a little bit shocked because as we were taking the vehicle apart, she mentioned, "I can't believe how many parts there are on this car and how far you're taking it apart." So now it's a little bit more earth-shattering because we just have a plain frame, and then a lot of the components are on that folding table that we've sorted, and we'll be sorting through all of those parts. You'll notice there's some green tape there. Everything has been labeled because we want to make sure that all of the components that are taken off of this frame, that we know, like for example, the rear coil springs. We've got them marked both driver and passenger side. We're going to take measurements and so on later on to make sure that it's going to, the stance is going to be correct and true, because if the car is leaning one side or the other, we don't want to be excuse me, having the wrong part. So in terms of upper and lower control arms and all of the major components, we're going to degrease and clean them, and we'll media blast them at the same time as the frame. So once again, this frame is for a 58 Chevy Impala two-door, and that's the shell of the car over here on one rotisserie, and then the frame here on the other. So in the next few days, we'll be scraping and preparing both the frame and the body for sandblasting, and then we'll share with you another update once everything is sandblasted to show you what this frame looks like with it media blasted. So I'm John. I thank you for watching, and visit our website. It's lastchanceautorestore.com.